The storm and the stranger. The desert night was wild and angry. Wind howled like a living thing, throwing sand against the old highway. Clouds hung low, flashing with strange blue lightning that didn't look like normal thunder. Ethan drove his old pickup truck through the storm, his hands tight on the steering wheel. The radio crackled with static. Once or twice he thought he heard voices between the noise, soft, whispering words that made no sense. He shook his head. "Just the storm," he muttered. But deep inside, something felt wrong. Ethan was a simple man. He worked as a mechanic in a small desert town that most maps forgot. Every day was the same: fix cars, eat alone, go home. Life was quiet, predictable. But that night, the world didn't feel quiet anymore. The wind pushed harder. Lightning flashed again, brighter this time, and for a second Ethan saw something falling from the sky. A glowing streak burning across the clouds, heading down fast toward the dunes. He blinked, trying to follow it, but it vanished behind the hills. "Probably a meteor," he whispered, though his heart beat faster. Something in him, a voice he couldn't explain, said, "Go look." He drove off the main road, tires bumping over the rough sand. The storm grew worse. The radio died completely. Only the sound of wind and his own heartbeat filled the truck. Then he saw it. At first it looked like an animal lying on the sand, small, twisted, covered in dust and strange glowing marks. Ethan slowed the truck, headlights shining over it. It was breathing weakly, chest rising and falling fast. He jumped out, coat whipping in the wind. "Hey there, buddy," he said softly, walking closer. "You hurt?" The creature didn't move. Its fur, if it was fur, shimmered like silver threads. One side of its body was burned, small sparks flickering under the skin. Ethan's heart broke a little at the sight. He had always loved animals. He couldn't just leave it there to die. He knelt beside it and reached out. The moment his hand touched its skin, a shock ran up his arm. Not painful, but warm and electric. He gasped. The creature's body glowed for a second and its eyes opened. They were not animal eyes. They were bright, deep, and human, but not human. A strange blue light moved inside them, like stars under water. Ethan froze. The creature looked right at him, and for a second he felt something inside his mind. A whisper, not in words, but in feelings. "Help me." Ethan blinked. "It's okay," he said, his voice shaking. "I'll help you. Just stay with me." The creature blinked once, slow and weak, then closed its eyes again. Its breathing slowed. Panic filled Ethan's chest. He picked it up gently. It was lighter than he expected, almost weightless. He wrapped it in his coat and ran back to the truck. The moment he started the engine, lightning hit the ground not far away. The sand exploded in a flash of blue fire. Ethan shouted and drove fast, heading toward his house. Inside the truck, the air smelled strange, like metal and rain. He looked down. The creature's fur was fading, turning pale, almost transparent. For a moment, he thought he could see something else beneath. A different shape, a different body. But then it flickered back again. "What the hell are you?" he whispered. The creature made a soft sound, almost like a sigh. Its glowing eyes opened for a second. It looked at him, lips, yes lips, moving slightly, forming a word he couldn't understand. Then it went still again. Ethan's heart raced. His hands trembled on the wheel. The storm howled behind him, chasing him like a beast. He didn't dare stop until he reached his small wooden house on the edge of town. He carried the creature inside and laid it on his workbench. The power flickered. Lights buzzed weakly. Ethan grabbed towels, water, anything he could find. The creature's breathing was slow now, too slow. "I can't let you die," he said quietly. "Not after all this." He cleaned its wounds, though he didn't understand them. The cuts weren't normal. More like burns from energy, not fire. The glowing marks under its skin pulsed softly. Then something strange happened. As Ethan wiped the blood, or whatever the glowing liquid was, his fingers brushed the creature's chest. For a moment, the pulse under his touch stopped completely. He froze. Then a strong blue light shot from the wound, filling the whole room. Ethan fell back, shielding his eyes. When he looked again, the creature was gone. In its place lay a girl. She looked human, young, pale, fragile, but her skin shimmered faintly, like moonlight on water. Her hair was silver white, spread around her like threads of light. She was barely breathing. Ethan's mouth went dry. "No way!" He stepped closer, hands shaking. The girl's eyes fluttered open for a second. She looked at him with the same glowing blue eyes and whispered a single word. Please. Then she fainted. Ethan stood there, heart pounding, the storm roaring outside. He didn't know who she was or where she came from. But one thing was certain. This was no ordinary girl, and he had just brought something, or someone, into his home that could change everything. Outside, in the dark sky above the desert, more blue lights began to appear, moving, searching. The rescue. The storm raged outside like a living monster. Wind screamed through the cracks of Ethan's old house, and every flash of lightning painted the walls in blue fire. But inside the garage there was silence, broken only by the soft, uneven breathing of the strange girl on his workbench. Ethan's mind spun in circles. A few minutes ago she was some kind of glowing animal. Now she was lying there, a girl with skin like light and hair like silver mist. He could still see the faint shimmer beneath her skin moving like waves. He knelt beside her. "Can you hear me?" he whispered. No answer. Her lips were pale, her chest barely moving. He touched her wrist. Her pulse was slow but strong, and her skin felt warm, almost too warm, like she carried a fire inside. Then something strange happened. As he leaned closer, a soft hum filled the air. It wasn't coming from his machines, and it came from her. Tiny blue sparks crawled across her arm, moving toward the wound on her shoulder. The light spread slowly, healing the torn skin right before his eyes. Ethan froze, his mouth dry. "That's impossible." The hum faded. She exhaled weakly and whispered something, not in English. The words sounded soft but powerful, like the sound of water flowing backward. Ethan didn't understand, but somehow he felt their meaning. It was a plea, a desperate call for help. He looked at her face, calm now but tired, too tired. Outside, thunder shook the windows again. Ethan walked to the door, looked out through the rain, and gasped. 3 lights floated in the distance, cold, white, and moving in perfect lines. Drones. He had seen similar ones on military videos, but these weren't like anything from Earth. They moved too smoothly, too alive. He slammed the door shut, heart racing. What the hell is happening? He turned back. The girl's eyes were open now, blue and glowing like twin moons. She stared at him, frightened but alert. Her lips moved. "They're coming." Her voice was soft, broken and filled with pain. Ethan took a step closer. "Who's coming? What are those things?" She struggled to speak, her breath shallow. "Hunters, they can smell my energy." "Energy?" he repeated, confused. "What do you mean?" But she didn't answer. Instead, her body began to tremble. Sparks ran down her arms again, and the air temperature dropped suddenly. The tools hanging on the wall started vibrating, metal trembling under invisible pressure. Hey, easy," Ethan said quickly, reaching out. "You're safe here, okay? Just breathe. I'll keep you safe." She looked at him, truly looked at him, and for a second the fear in her eyes softened. She nodded once and closed them again, exhausted. Ethan stood there, heart thundering, brain racing. Hunters, energy, drones. None of it made sense, but one thing was clear. If those things outside were looking for her, they would find her soon. He ran to the windows, pulled down the blinds, and shut off every light in the house. Darkness swallowed the room. The only glow came from her, soft and pale like moonlight under water. Ethan grabbed his old rifle from the corner, the one his father left him, and checked the bullets. Only 4. "Great," he muttered. 4 shots against flying alien robots. Perfect. He peeked outside again. The lights were closer now, scanning the ground, hovering low. One of them paused near his truck. A beam of white light swept over the sand, slow and precise. Then another joined it. He could hear a faint metallic voice through the wind, mechanical and cold. Subject energy signature detected. Proximity scan engaged. Ethan's heart stopped. They were searching for her. He ran back inside. The girl was still unconscious, glowing faintly. "You need to stop shining, sweetheart," he whispered nervously. "You're gonna get us killed." He grabbed a blanket and wrapped her carefully, hiding the light. But even through the fabric, the glow leaked out like trapped lightning. Outside, the sound of engines grew louder. The garage door rattled. Ethan pointed the rifle at the entrance, sweat dripping down his face. He could see shadows moving just beyond the windows. Tall, humanoid shapes made of silver metal, eyes burning with blue light. The girl stirred again and whispered weakly, "Don't fight them. You can't." Ethan shook his head. "I'm not letting them take you. Not after what I saw." He didn't know why he said it. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the way she looked so fragile yet powerful at the same time. Maybe it was because for the first time in years he felt like he had a purpose again. Suddenly the garage door creaked open, just an inch, but it was enough. A beam of light cut through the darkness. Ethan fired. The sound shattered the silence echoing through the storm. One of the shadows fell, sparks flying as its metallic head exploded. The others turned immediately. Threat detected. Human resistance confirmed. "Oh, fantastic," Ethan muttered, reloading. Before he could shoot again, a bright pulse of blue light filled the room, coming from behind him. He turned. The girl was awake, eyes glowing fiercely now. She raised her hand weakly and the air itself seemed to tremble. The drones outside stopped moving. Their lights flickered wildly, then exploded in a burst of blue fire. The storm went silent. Ethan blinked, stunned. The girl dropped her hand and collapsed again. He ran to her, catching her before she hit the floor. Her skin was ice cold now. "Hey, stay with me," he said softly. "You're safe. They're gone." She opened her eyes one last time, whispering something barely audible. "You saved me." "But they won't stop." Then she went still again. Ethan looked at her, the smell of burnt metal filling the room. He realized she wasn't just some lost creature. She was something else, something powerful, hunted and scared. Outside, far beyond the desert horizon, 3 more lights appeared, larger, brighter. And moving fast, the real danger was only beginning. The awakening, the storm had passed, but silence was worse. Ethan stood in the middle of his wrecked garage. Walls blackened from the blast, tools scattered, and the smell of burned metal thick in the air. His hands were still shaking from what he had seen. The creature lay on the floor, motionless. Her skin no longer glowed, her breath faint like a whisper lost in the wind. Ethan knelt beside her, checking for a pulse. It was there, weak but steady. He sighed in relief. "You're alive." But his relief didn't last. Out in the distance, the sky still shimmered faintly blue. He knew those lights would come back. They weren't done. Whatever she was, they wanted her badly. He carried her gently into the living room away from the destroyed garage. He placed her on the couch and covered her with a blanket. For a moment, she looked almost human, peaceful, like she was just sleeping after a bad dream. Ethan sat beside her, rubbing his tired eyes. "What are you?" he whispered. "And what did you pull me into?" The lights flickered again. His house felt colder. The radio on the table turned on by itself. Static, then a strange voice. Energy signal traced. Lifeform confirmed. "Retrieval units inbound." Ethan's heart froze. He grabbed the radio and threw it across the room. "Not again," he muttered, pacing. "Not tonight," then a sound. Soft, shaky breathing. He turned. The girl was awake. Her eyes opened slowly. Those same glowing blue eyes, but dimmer now, like dying stars. She tried to sit up, trembling. Ethan rushed to help her. Hey, don't move. You need rest." She looked around, confused and afraid. "Where am I?" "Safe," he said quickly. "For now." "You were hurt." "I fixed what I could." She blinked, studying his face as if trying to read his mind. "You are human." "Last time I checked," Ethan said, forcing a nervous smile. "And you? You're definitely not." Her eyes darkened with sadness. "I didn't mean to come here." "The portal collapsed." "Portal?" he repeated. She looked toward the window, voice soft and distant. "My ship was attacked. I had to escape. The energy storm pulled me into your sky. I changed form to survive the air." Ethan stared at her, not sure if he was dreaming. "So you're saying you turned into an animal?" "Yes," she said simply. "A safer shape. But it broke me inside. My lungs can't hold your air for long." Her words hit him like ice. "You're dying?" She nodded slowly. "If they find me before I recover, they'll take my breath. Use it to create war machines. They did this to my people." "They will do it to yours," Ethan swallowed hard. "Who are they?" "The hunters," she whispered. "Machines without souls. Built to obey, now hungry to rule. They tracked me across stars. I stole something from them." She raised her trembling hand. A small shard of crystal floated above her palm, glowing softly, humming like a heartbeat. Ethan leaned closer. "What is that?" "The breath core," she said. "It keeps life alive on my world. Without it, everything dies." Ethan's eyes widened. "And they're coming for that?" She nodded weakly. "They will burn your planet to dust to take it." A loud thud shook the house. Ethan jumped. The girl's eyes widened in terror. "They're here." Ethan grabbed his rifle and ran to the window. Outside, the darkness moved. Not wind, not rain, but shapes. Tall, thin, metallic figures walking silently toward the house. Their eyes glowed blue, same as hers, but colder, emptier. He turned back to her. "Can you fight them again? Like before?" She shook her head. "No energy left. If I use the core now, it will kill me." Ethan's mind raced. "Then we run." He pulled her up gently, helping her stand. She was weak, her body trembling with every breath. The faint blue glow under her skin flickered like a candle in the wind. They reached the back door, but before they could step out, the wall exploded. A blast of blue light threw Ethan across the room. He hit the floor hard, ears ringing. Through the smoke, he saw them. 3 metallic hunters stepping inside, their faces blank, their movements too smooth, too precise. The lead hunter spoke in a hollow voice. "Energy core detected. Surrender and be neutralized." Ethan raised his rifle. "You first," he fired. The bullet sparked off the hunter's head, useless. The machine turned slowly toward him, raising its arm, a weapon forming from its hand. Before it could shoot, the girl screamed. A sudden pulse of blue energy burst from her body, slamming the hunters backward. Windows shattered, lights exploded, the air thick with dust and power. Ethan shielded his face. When he looked again, the hunters were down, not destroyed but frozen mid-motion, sparks jumping across their metal limbs. The girl collapsed again, gasping for air. Her body flickered like she was fading. Ethan rushed to her side. "Hey, stay with me." Her eyes fluttered open. "I can't stay hidden anymore. They'll send more. Stronger ones." "Then we move," Ethan said, lifting her gently. "I know a place in old mine tunnels out east. No one goes there." She stared at him, weak but determined. "You would help me?" Ethan looked at the glowing crystal in her hand. "You said if they take that, they'll destroy both our worlds, right?" "Yes." "Then it's not just your fight anymore." For a long second, they just looked at each other. A broken man and a dying alien princess, bound by something bigger than either of them. Outside, the sky flashed again, but this time it wasn't lightning. It was something huge entering the atmosphere. A dark shadow covered the moon. The real invasion had begun. The hunt begins. The night was no longer just dark, it was alive. The storm had passed, but the sky burned faintly blue, like an open wound above the world. Ethan drove fast through the empty desert road, headlights slicing the darkness. In the passenger seat, the alien girl, Ilara, leaned weakly against the door, breathing slow and shallow. Her skin still shimmered faintly under the blanket he had wrapped around her. The engine groaned as he pushed it harder. "Hang in there," he said, glancing at her. "We're almost at the mine." Her eyes flickered open. "They will follow. They always follow." Ethan gritted his teeth. "Then I'll make sure they regret it." He didn't know how. A human mechanic with a beat-up truck against alien machines. But he meant it. Behind them, the horizon glowed faintly, like something massive was searching the land. The air itself felt heavy, filled with electricity and fear. Ilara turned her head toward the window. "You don't understand what you've done," she whispered. Ethan frowned. "I saved you. You chose me," she said softly. "Now your world is part of mine." He didn't answer. He just drove faster. After half an hour, the truck reached an old iron gate covered in sand. The entrance to Black Hollow Mine, a place Ethan's father had once worked before it was shut down. Locals said strange things happened there. People disappeared. Machines stopped working. Perfect place to hide, Ethan thought. He got out, opened the gate, and drove inside. The air was colder here. The mine tunnel stretched deep into the hills, silent and endless. They stopped near the old elevator shaft. The ground was covered in dust and rusted rails. Ethan helped Ilara out of the truck. She could barely stand, her energy fading. He wrapped his arm around her, guiding her inside. "You'll be safe here," he said. She gave a faint smile. No one is ever safe from them. Inside the mine, shadows danced across the walls. Ethan used his flashlight, but the beam flickered. The deeper they went, the stranger the air felt, like the walls were humming quietly, breathing with them. Finally, they reached a small control room. Old computers, metal lockers, and a desk covered in dust. Ethan set Alara down gently. She looked at him, eyes tired but calm. "Why help me, Ethan?" He hesitated. "Because when I saw you lying there, hurt, I couldn't walk away. I've seen too much death in this world already. I wasn't going to add yours to it." She studied him quietly. "Your heart. It's bright," she said softly. "You feel things deeply. That's rare in your kind." He chuckled nervously. "Guess I'm old-fashioned." But before he could say more, the ground trembled. A low, vibrating hum filled the tunnels. Alara's head snapped up. "They found us." Ethan grabbed the rifle. "Already?" She closed her eyes. "They travel through signals, machines, even your truck system. They can read it. Damn it." He smashed the flashlight, plunging the room into darkness. Only Alara's faint glow lit the space now. The sound grew louder. Metal scraping against rock, heavy steps echoing through the tunnels. Alara struggled to stand, but Ethan stopped her. "Save your strength," she shook her head. "They are close. I can feel their breath." Ethan aimed the rifle toward the tunnel entrance. Sweat dripped down his neck. His hands trembled, not from fear but from adrenaline. Then out of the dark, a single blue eye appeared, floating, moving closer. Not a person. A drone. Ethan fired. The shot hit it square in the lens. Sparks flew. The drone crashed, but behind it came more. Dozens. "Run!" Ethan shouted, grabbing Alara's hand. They dashed deeper into the mine, their footsteps echoing in the hollow dark. The tunnels twisted and split, turning into a maze. The blue lights of the hunters followed like hungry ghosts. Alara gasped, stumbling. "I can't." "Keep up," Ethan caught her. "Then I'll carry you." He lifted her onto his back and ran. She was light. Too light. Like she was fading with every breath. The hunters' voices echoed behind them, cold and mechanical. "Target located. Termination sequence engaged." Ethan turned a corner and saw an old metal door ahead, half broken but still standing. He kicked it open and rushed inside. It was a storage room filled with mining tools, old machines, and dust-covered generators. He set Alara down and quickly started working on one of the generators. Come on," he muttered, using a wrench to connect the wires. "What are you doing?" she asked weakly. "Something stupid," he said, "but it might work." The generator coughed, then roared to life, flooding the room with red light. Ethan connected the power lines to a large metal coil on the wall, an old magnetic drill used to melt rock. As the hunters entered, Ethan flipped the switch. A surge of electricity exploded through the coil, sending a massive shockwave down the tunnel. Metal screamed. Sparks rained like fire. The first two hunters were ripped apart, their bodies slamming into the walls. But more kept coming, relentless. Ethan grabbed Alara's hand again. "We've got to go, now." She looked at him, eyes glowing brighter. "No, you go. I'll stop them. Don't be stupid." She smiled faintly. "You saved me once. Let me return it." Before he could argue, she stepped forward. The crystal shard floated from her hand, glowing brighter and brighter until it lit the entire mine. The air trembled. Rocks lifted from the ground. A sound like a heartbeat filled the tunnels. Ethan's breath caught in his chest. "Alara," she whispered something in her language, words full of sorrow and power. Then the light burst outward, flooding everything. Ethan shielded his face. When he opened his eyes again, the tunnel was empty. The hunters were gone. The walls were scorched black, but Alara was nowhere to be seen. Only the faint blue crystal lay on the floor, pulsing weakly. Ethan picked it up, feeling its warmth, her warmth. He whispered, "What did you do?" Then behind him a soft voice answered, not from the crystal, but from inside his mind. "The hunt is not over. Ethan, now they will come for you." He looked toward the tunnel entrance and saw new blue lights moving in, bigger, faster, stronger. The hunt had truly begun. The truth. The night had grown eerily quiet. The wind had stopped, and the world outside the mine was still. Too still. Ethan sat alone near the dead generator, his hands shaking. In his palm, the crystal, Alara's crystal, pulsed softly with blue light. It felt alive, almost like it had a heartbeat. He hadn't seen Elara since the explosion. 1 second she was there, shining like a star, and the next she was gone, vanished into the light. He whispered into the darkness, "Elara, where are you?" The crystal shimmered, and suddenly a voice filled the air, soft, echoing inside his mind. "I'm here, Ethan, not gone." "Not yet," he gasped, staring at the crystal. "You're alive?" "Part of me," she replied. Her voice was calm but heavy with pain. "I had to merge my energy into the core. It was the only way to stop them." Ethan swallowed hard. "Then how do I bring you back?" A pause. "You can't, not here. My body is gone. But my essence lives inside the crystal." He clenched his fist around it. "No, you saved me. Now I'll save you." The light flickered slightly, but almost like she was smiling. "You always say that." Ethan looked around the mine. The walls were cracked, dust falling from the ceiling. He knew they couldn't stay. The hunters would return, bigger, smarter. But now he had no alien princess to protect. Just a glowing stone that whispered like a ghost. He walked back to his truck, engine sputtering to life. As he drove through the desert, the crystal glowed brighter. Elara's voice guided him. "There's something you must know, Ethan, something about your world." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "The hunters didn't just find me by chance. They've been here before, long ago." Ethan blinked. "What, here on Earth?" "Yes," she said quietly. "Your species calls them myths, gods, demons, angels. But they were real. They came to harvest energy from your planet centuries ago. My ancestors fought them and drove them away. But your world still carries their code." "Code? Buried deep," she explained. "Inside your machines, your satellites, your networks. They left seeds, small programs waiting for activation. When I fell through your sky, my signal woke them." Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine. "So that means—" "Yes," she whispered. "Your machines are listening to them now." He looked at the radio in his truck. It flickered with static, then a cold robotic voice spoke through it. "Subject Ethan Graves identified. Containment authorized. Damn it!" Ethan slammed the radio off. "They're tracking me through everything." Elara's voice grew urgent. "You must reach the mountains north of here. There's a place, a structure built before your kind. It can block their signal." Ethan gripped the wheel tighter. "What kind of structure?" She hesitated. "A gate, one of the first. My people built it during the old war. It connects worlds, but it's broken now. Still, though it may hide you." "May?" he said bitterly. "It's all we have." He drove through the night, every shadow on the road feeling like a pair of eyes. The sky glowed faintly again, blue lights moving fast, silent, hunting. Elara's voice faded for a moment, then returned weaker. "Ethan, there's something else you must hear. Something about you." "About me?" "Yes." She paused, as if searching for the right words. "When you touched me the first time, I felt your energy. Human energy should be dull, heavy. But yours was different, bright, clear, familiar." Ethan frowned. "Familiar how?" "It matched mine." He froze. "What are you saying?" "You carry a piece of the breath. The same life current that runs through me." "That's impossible." "No. It means your bloodline was changed long ago. Someone in your past was one of us." Ethan's heart pounded. His hands trembled on the steering wheel. "You mean I'm part—" "Yes," she whispered. "Part of my kind. That's why you could touch the core and live. Anyone else would have burned to ash." The world seemed to tilt. Ethan remembered his father, his strange old stories about the sky calling and the song of stars. He'd thought they were just drunken ramblings. But now, maybe not. Before he could speak again, a blinding flash exploded in the sky ahead. The road cracked. His truck swerved as something massive crashed into the ground in front of him. A dark metallic craft, silent and menacing. Ethan slammed the brakes. The truck skidded to a stop. The air shimmered. From the wreckage, tall figures emerged. The hunters, but different this time. Sleeker, stronger. Their eyes burned white instead of blue. Elara's voice screamed inside his head. "Ethan! Run!" He jumped out of the truck, clutching the crystal. But before he could move, one of the new hunters raised its arm. A beam of light shot out, hitting the truck, turning it into molten metal. Ethan dove behind a rock, heart pounding. Then something unexpected happened. The crystal in his hand burned bright. Pain shot through his arm. His veins glowed blue and the air around him started to hum. "What's happening to me?" he shouted. Ilara's voice returned, trembling. "The core is awakening inside you." He looked down. The crystal had fused with his skin, glowing brighter and brighter. Energy surged through his body. The ground cracked beneath him. The hunters advanced slowly, scanning him. Energy level exceeding parameters. Subject must be neutralized. Ethan stood, eyes glowing blue, the desert wind swirling around him. For the first time, he didn't feel afraid. He felt alive. He looked at the hunters and said softly, "Come and try." The sky above split open with lightning as the war truly began. The battle. The desert was no longer quiet. The ground shook like something beneath it was alive. Blue lightning cracked across the clouds and dust rose in thick spirals around Ethan. He stood alone, holding the crystal that now pulsed inside his palm, fused to him, glowing brighter than the stars above. The hunters moved closer, their white eyes cutting through the darkness. Their metal bodies made no sound, but every step felt heavy, like the earth itself feared them. Ethan's breath came fast. His heartbeat matched the pulse of the crystal. He felt it, energy raw and endless running through his veins. Inside his head, Ilara's voice echoed faintly. "Ethan, you must control it. Don't let the power control you." He clenched his fists. No promises. The first hunter raised its arm. A beam of cold light shot toward him, but before it could hit, Ethan lifted his hand. Instinct took over. A shield of blue energy formed in front of him, the beam splashing against it like water against glass. He stared at his hand, shocked. "I didn't even think later," Ilara's voice said urgently. "Fight now!" The next hunter charged. Ethan moved without thinking. The energy inside him exploded outward, a wave of light that sent the creature flying into the air. It crashed, burning into the sand. The others opened fire. Blue bolts filled the night sky, painting everything in light. Ethan ran faster than he thought possible, his body moving like lightning itself. He jumped, spun, and raised his hands, sending streaks of glowing energy back at them. One by one, the hunters fell, their bodies dissolving into sparks. But for each one destroyed, two more appeared on the horizon, marching from the shadows, silent, endless. Ilara's voice trembled inside his mind. "You can't win like this." "There are too many. Then what do I do?" "Listen," she said. "To the core. It remembers my world, the breath of life, the song of stars. Let it guide you." Ethan closed his eyes for a second, even as the storm raged. Inside the darkness, he heard it, a hum, deep and ancient like the heartbeat of the universe. The sound wasn't from outside Imami. It was coming from within him. When he opened his eyes, the blue light in them burned brighter than ever. The hunters paused, their systems flickering. They seemed to sense it, fear, or something close to it. Ethan raised both hands, and the desert itself began to move. Sand lifted, swirling around him like a tornado of light. The storm bent to his will. The leader of the hunters spoke, voice cold and metallic. "Energy anomaly detected. Subject becoming unstable. Termination required." It fired. A single massive beam that split the air. Ethan crossed his arms, caught the beam in midair and forced it back. The ground exploded. Light consumed everything. When the dust cleared, Ethan stood in the center of a burning crater, untouched. The hunters were gone, melted into the sand. He dropped to his knees, exhausted. The blue glow in his skin faded to a soft pulse. Ilara's voice returned, weaker now. "You did it." Ethan looked up at the sky, breathing hard, for now. Then he saw it. Far above the clouds, a huge shadow moving. A shape like a city floating in the sky, silver, bright, and full of moving lights. Ilara gasped. "The Ark ship. They've come themselves." Ethan frowned. "Who's they?" "Their leader," she said quietly. "The one who created the hunters. The architect." The ship's lights grew stronger, forming strange patterns in the sky. The air shimmered. Ethan felt the ground vibrate again. From the ship, a column of light struck the desert floor a few miles away. Something began to emerge. Tall, winged machines with bodies made of shifting silver. They weren't drones. They looked alive. Ethan stood, gripping his arm. The crystal inside his skin pulsed wildly, reacting to their presence. Ilara's voice trembled. "They want the core, but more than that, They want you now. Me? He said, disbelief in his voice. Yes, the architect will see you as a threat. You are the first human to hold the breath. He will not allow it. Ethan laughed bitterly. Guess I just made the wrong kind of friends. The ground split open near him and a tall figure stepped through the smoke. Its eyes glowed white, its voice smooth and chilling. Ethan Graves. Return the core and you may live. Ethan lifted his head, eyes burning with blue fire. You first. The figure tilted its head slightly. Defiance is an old human flaw. You will learn surrender soon. Ethan smiled. Maybe, but not tonight. He raised his hands again. The air exploded with light. The sand turned to glass. The energy burst from him like a star being born. The figure staggered backward, its armor cracking. Ilara's voice screamed inside his head. Stop, you'll burn yourself! But Ethan didn't stop. He poured everything he had into one final blast, shouting, Stay away from my world! The explosion shook the sky. The floating ship flickered, its shields breaking for a moment. A wave of energy rippled across the horizon, lighting up the night for miles. Then, silence. Ethan collapsed to the ground, smoke rising around him. The crystal in his hand was dim now, its glow fading. He coughed, looking up at the stars. Lara, are you still there? A long pause. Then a faint whisper. I am. But the battle isn't over. You only delayed them. Ethan smiled weakly. Then I'll keep delaying them. Until I can finish this. The wind blew softly across the glowing sand. Above, the massive arc ship began to move again, its lights reforming into a new shape. A signal, spreading across the sky like a warning. Ilara's final words echoed in his mind. They are calling reinforcements from beyond the stars. And somewhere deep inside Ethan's chest, the crystal pulsed again, brighter, stronger, as if it knew the war for Earth had only just begun. The choice, the desert no longer looked like Earth. The sand glowed faintly blue. The air trembled, filled with low hums from the giant ship above, the arc ship, a silver mountain hanging in the sky. Ethan stood in the middle of the silent wasteland, weak but still standing. His clothes were torn, his hands burned, and the glowing veins on his arm pulsed like lightning trapped under skin. Above him, the arc ship opened, a circle of white light forming at its base. From it descended a single being, wrapped in shifting silver armor. Its face was hidden, but its voice was calm, almost human. Ethan Graves, it said, bearer of the breath. You do not belong to this power. Ethan stared up, breathing hard. You talk too much. The being tilted its head slightly, amused. Defiance. Typical of your species, tell me. Do you even know what you carry? I know it's keeping both our worlds alive, Ethan said. And I'm not handing it over. The being's eyes flared white. Then you are a fool. The core is not meant for flesh. It will consume you, and as it did her. Ethan's chest tightened. Ilara's not gone. A voice echoed softly in his mind, fragile but clear. I'm still here, Ethan. Don't listen to him. The being, the architect, smiled faintly beneath the armor. Ah, the princess still whispers. How touching. Tell her the truth, human. Tell her that her world is already gone. Ethan froze. What are you talking about? The architect raised a hand. A beam of light shot into the air, projecting an image. A distant world burning under dark skies. Cities falling. Oceans boiling. Millions of lives fading into light. Ilara's voice cracked with pain. No, that can't be true. It is, said the architect coldly. Your planet died the moment you ran. The core was its heart. You stole it, and you doomed them all. Ethan shook his head. You're lying, am I? The being's voice grew colder. You feel it, don't you? The guilt inside the crystal, the screams of a dying world echoing in your blood. The crystal inside Ethan's arm pulsed faster, glowing brighter, almost painfully bright. He dropped to his knees, gripping his chest. He could hear them, faint voices, thousands of them, crying out in sorrow and fading into silence. Ilara's voice trembled. Ethan, I didn't know. I didn't. The architect stepped closer. Give me the core and I will spare this planet. Keep it and your Earth will burn as hers did. The air grew still. The choice hung heavy. Life or death, truth or hope. Ethan looked at the crystal, now glowing like a burning star under his skin. He could feel its pain, its hunger, its memory. He could also feel her, Ilara's presence gentle but fading. Ethan, she whispered, If you give it to him, he'll use it to control every world. But if you keep it, you'll die. He looked up at the sky, eyes glowing blue. So either way, somebody dies. Yes, she said softly. But maybe this time it should be for something greater. He smiled faintly. You always did sound like a princess. The architect raised his hand again. Choose human, now. Ethan took a deep breath, closing his eyes. The wind began to rise, swirling around him. The desert trembled. When he spoke again, his voice was calm, steady. You're right about one thing. I don't belong to this power. The architect's head tilted. Then surrender it. Ethan opened his eyes. They blazed with pure light. No, I'm setting it free. The ground split open beneath him. Blue energy erupted upward, reaching the clouds. Lightning tore across the sky. The core inside Ethan's body flared to life and brighter than the sun. The architect shouted, "No! You'll destroy everything!" Ethan smiled. Maybe, but not in your way. He spread his arms wide. The energy exploded outward, racing through the air, through every wire, every satellite, every machine on Earth. The hunters froze mid-step, their lights dying. The Ark ship cracked apart, its engines collapsing. Elara's voice filled the world, soft, pure, like a song. He's not destroying it. He's sharing it. The breath of life flowed from Ethan's body into the sky, spreading across the planet like a living storm. Plants shimmered. The oceans glowed. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter. The architect screamed as his body disintegrated into dust. You fool. You cannot control creation. Ethan's voice echoed like thunder. I'm not controlling it. I'm giving it back. The light grew so bright that the whole desert vanished. Then silence. When the light faded, the Ark ship was gone. The hunters had vanished. The desert was calm again, the sky clear and golden with dawn. At the center of the crater only Ethan remained, lying still, eyes closed, face peaceful. The blue light inside him had gone quiet. From the wind came Elara's voice, soft and full of tears. You kept your promise. You saved them. For a moment her image flickered, a ghost made of light. She knelt beside him, touched his hand and whispered, Rest now, my human. She placed her palm over his heart. A spark of blue light moved from her to him, faint, gentle, alive. The crystal in his chest pulsed once more, and somewhere deep under the stars, his eyes slowly opened.